Hello and welcome back to the BWN podcast. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, and as I said, you guys wanted to have more lecturers on last season and we couldn't figure it out massively anyway, but we did have 3 on. Of course, if you recall, we had Nicholas Glean, Jay Sykes and Ian McPake as the season finale, but today we have another lecturer on, and it is Mr. John Timney. How are you?
Hey, I'm all good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No, it's great to have you here. Now, John, as he's been telling me, is a sort of a musician and producer, and he's been telling me he's been doing it for sort of the last decade, and we're going to learn a lot today about what John's been sort of up to in his career, you could say, outside of uni, and also what sort of his life inside of uni entails as well. But yeah, today we're going to be sort of answering the question, how hard is it to make it in the music industry, which I think is a very broad question.
It's quite a big question.
It is a big one.
Yeah, but we've got time.
Yeah, we certainly do have time. But no, first of all, how are you guys feeling today? I hope everything's going all right at home. And yeah, if you have any ideas of other topics that you'd like us to be discussing today, or with any guests that you know around sort of the University of Sunderland culture, please do let us know in the comments down below. But of course, yet again, we're going to try our best to prepare, but we are pre-recording the second season a fair while in advance, so we'll get around to it hopefully as time goes on. But no, let's get right into it. So, how are you today, John?
I'm all good, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's a busy time of year, but it's nearly the summer, so yeah, holding out.
So yeah, we're pre-recording this very much towards the end of the well, I was about to say second year, it's not for everybody, but at the end of the academic year now.
Yeah.
And most people have kind of filtered off home now. It's very barren, the corridors. I'm finding.
I noticed it's quite quiet down here, isn't it? There's not many people around.
No, there isn't. No, there's is classes mostly finished on your end now? Kind of. That
yeah,
sort of thing?
this is the last week really that people have been in, so
Right.
It'll be quiet up at Priestman as well.
Okay.
From now on.
Yeah. So, in terms of, first of all, in terms of the classes, so what is it? I know that I was in a class of yours in the last year or so. What is it with in terms of audio that you've kind of been teaching at the university, sort of up till now? Would you say?
So down here at Media, I teach the sound module on film and media production.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about how to capture location sound, Foley sound, all of that kind of thing, and how to mix it. And specifically how to sync up and mix with visuals. So as you know, we did like a sound dub where you pick a movie clip and you create the whole sound world to it, basically. So I do all that stuff down here. Up in the music department, it's more music focused, but my module is quite experimental. It's called Creative Sound Practice. Yeah. So we look at kind of the history of recording technology, and we do some weird, wacky stuff like music concrete, tape loop music, things like that. Loads of sampling and creative sound practice basically sums it up. Right. It's an opportunity for students to do things that they maybe wouldn't necessarily do outside of uni, to be a bit more artsy and experimental. Right. So yeah, that's the kind of sound related things that I do at the uni. So
would you say that second course you mentioned, it's a lot more unorthodox than what you would typically expect in an academic environment?
Yes, although I suppose maybe not unorthodox in an academic environment, because in academia things tend to be out there and tend to be avant-garde and experimental. Yeah. And that one's on the third year music top-up as well, so students already come in with a degree of experience, so that it's kind of like some excursions into the unknown in that module, you know, and some experimentation. But yeah, not as practical, I guess, as what we do down here, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So obviously carrying all that forward, that knowledge forward, and teaching other people about it, where did all that time ago, where did that spark come from music? Where did the journey begin for you, would you say? So right at the very beginning.
So right at the very beginning, I started playing when I was 13, which is quite late for some people. I do remember having guitar lessons a lot earlier than that in school. But it never really clicked with me, because when you're like a little kid, you don't really listen to music, or I didn't, I'm not sure. But I remember having guitar lessons and it being like, this is a C major scale, and I was like, yeah, I can do that, but what does this mean? Like, why? So it never clicked with me. And then when I was 13 and I started getting into music, I remember listening to Nirvana and listening to the drums, and just something clicked, and I was like, I want to do that. So I remember telling my parents one day, I was like, I want to play the drums, and they're like, what? Where's this come from? And they didn't think I would stick at it, but here I am, decades later, still doing it. So that's where it started. Yeah, and drums is my first instrument, always has been.
Right. Okay. So you have that passion for the drums, and that obviously develops as you get a bit older. How does what's kind of your first gig? Would you say how does it go from there? Or did you do live music, or have you kind of been more studio based?
No, really. Like for most of my career, I've been and still am like a live musician. The studio stuff sort of came later, but the first gigs I ever did. So my first band, I was probably 15. And we used to play at like house parties and things like that. It was proper like as you'd expect it to be, like getting started at that age. We sort of we branched out into venue gigs and started playing pubs and little things like that as we got a bit older. But obviously at that age, you can't. A lot of venues and pubs and that you can't go in. Yeah. If you're underage or you can't be in on the night or whatever. So we'd play all these like under the radar things like house parties and gatherings and. Played in all kinds of weird places, and that's how I started getting like my live gigging experience. Back
Must have been
day.
Definitely the cool kids on the block. Definitely.
I don't know about that. The musicians are all the nerds, really, aren't
they? But no, yeah. So with that, there is in terms of what you obviously had a passion for at first, and then it's developed into practicing it sort of live and getting experience there out in the field, and obviously making it happen. What made you? Was there any particular point where you realised, right, okay, or was it from the beginning, or okay, this is what I want to do forever, or was there a certain point where it flipped and you thought, right, okay, no, I think I could do this professionally?
There were stages to it, I guess. So obviously, like when I was playing in my first band when I was about 15. All of us were like, yeah, this is what we want to do. We're going to do this forever. But we weren't making any money, or like nothing was happening. We were doing the same gigs. Just doing the same things, really. No money was coming in. We just did it because we loved it, but we didn't know what to do. And I think this is the problem with a lot of young musicians starting out. What do you do next? How do you turn it into a career? So that step came later when I finished sixth form, and I'd kind of been going between working in bars and working in shops, and there was a point where I was just like, I can't stand this. I was also terrible at it. I was the worst barman you could ever imagine. One specific incident that stands out is I remember spilling a pint into a woman's handbag.
Oh, no!
Because this place I was working in, it was like this posh restaurant, and you couldn't just carry the pints to people. You had to put the pint on a tray and carry the tray, right? Which seems a daft way of doing it. So I'm walking over to this table with a pint, trip over something, full pint goes in the handbag. She wasn't very happy. At some point during this period, I was still playing in a different band at this time, and I was like, I can't keep doing these jobs. Like, I need to take music seriously. And when I left that last bar job, I was like, from now on, all I'm going to do is music, and I'm going to somehow make it work.
Was that left by choice, or was that left by...
No, I did actually. Yeah, I wasn't... Miraculously, I wasn't sacked. That wasn't the only incident. But yeah, I was not sacked. I left actually to go to uni. So I didn't go to uni immediately after sixth form. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I nearly went to do fine art.
Oh, wow.
Because that was always kind of like something else that I've been into. I'm really glad I didn't make that choice and try to make a career of it. Music's definitely what I'm better at. But yeah, I finally decided, right, I'm going to go to uni, do music. A big reason for that was getting out of where I grew up, but we'll come to that, I guess. Yeah. But getting to somewhere where there was a scene. So I left that job, went to study music, and that's where I kind of like decided from then on I would do it professionally. Yeah. Still didn't make a living off it until after I graduated and stuff, but that's kind of how it developed from just being a kid wanting to do it but not knowing how, to finally deciding like, right, this will be my career.
Yeah. You mentioned fine art there. Is this? Do you think that's kind of why now with sort of a sort of a home you've made here at uni? Do you think that it lends itself to it in a way, in the sense of do you find that you have an appreciation for the visual media side kind of things? Is that linked to that in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. I like being part of a creative scene over here. So loads of friends are videographers, photographers, artists. So it's nice to be part of all that. But the art side of things has always fed into what I do as well. Like, I do the album art for all my bands. Right. Recently, I've been trying to learn to make videos. Video has never been my strong point, but I'm sort of getting into that kind of things and a bit more visual stuff, But I'd always been like a pen and ink artist. That's where it started since I was a very young kid. I don't think I could ever have made a go of it as a career or done it at university, but I've always been interested in creating visuals and the whole aesthetic that goes alongside the music, you know.
Mm-hmm. So have you made a music video at this point? Where you saying you getting? So you've made a few at this point? Would you say?
Yeah, we've got one out at the moment. I'll talk about my bands in a bit, I suppose, but my main project at the moment is the Shannon Pearl Band. And we've got a couple of videos out. One of them's a professional production that we did with a company called Krugal, who are based in North Shields. And they're all about getting women into like the behind-the-scenes tech industry, so it's really good. Yeah. They've got like an all-female crew who all take on the various roles to make a video happen. So we've done that. But we've also done a DIY one that me and Shannon and a friend of ours shot in the woods on a GoPro and a DSLR. And I've been stitching things together in Premiere. I'm getting a bit better with it. It's like when you know music production, I guess it's like the skills transfer. But video has never been like a strong point of mine. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to up those skills, you know. So that's on YouTube though, if anyone wants to see the first attempt at cobbling together a music video. Have you found
have you found it odd in a way, sort of kind of seeing it, working in that sort of different editing environment, sort of having to think a lot more than just what you're hearing? Have you found it something different, or have you found it harder because there's potentially more to think about that?
There's a lot of challenges. Luckily, some of them are problems you come across in music production, so I could solve some things fairly quickly, like sample rate issues when you have things playing at wrong speeds, things like that. I can figure that stuff out. A big one is like the size of the files. You think that you've got a lot of a lot of data when you mix in music and you've got WAV files and that. Nothing compared to 4 and 5K video. So managing the files has been a big thing, and creating proxies so that I can actually edit in Premiere without my computer exploding, which it can run music production software absolutely fine, but video is another level, isn't it? So there's been a lot of technical barriers, but luckily working down here, there's loads of great people that I can get some advice on in that sense. So I don't know if you know David Scott. He's been great. He's an AT. He's like a high-end video editor. He does stuff for the BBC and that. But he works in Premiere and a bunch of other things. But I was just sort of asking him for tips and that, and he's been really helpful with sort of helping me get started out in it, and avoiding some pitfalls and stuff like that. Yeah.
Here's a big question we all will know the answer to, though. What do you think of the render times?
Like how long it takes?
The export times.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. With music production, sometimes you do like a real-time bounce, where it will take as long as the song is.
Yes.
But with video, if you're rendering like a 5K video, it's just like set it off and put the kettle on. Especially on my computer.
Could be 5 minutes, could be 5 hours is the most. Yeah, it lies. That timer lies.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, when it says 5 minutes left, but it's like each second is about 10 seconds. So. Yeah,
definitely. So you mentioned a few times up to now about your work in bands.
Yeah.
First of all, to kind of head into that, I want to know about the dynamic of it, because that's something as sort of, I'd say, very much in a developing sense as a solo artist trying to get better by the year.
Okay.
I wouldn't know what that dynamic is even remotely like.
Right.
So what is it? What's that dynamic like? Sort of the ups and the downs. What's it like being in a band?
It's, for the most part, it's good. I can't imagine being a solo artist, being not a singer. That's one thing that I cannot and do not do. I don't sing, which sort of means you can't perform solo. So I've never done it. I've done a lot of duo stuff, but I've never done it entirely alone. And I think, like, in a band, obviously it can be difficult if people have differing opinions and stuff, but a strength of it is that you can sort of delegate responsibilities to people who are best at that thing. And that's one of the great things about it, because a band is like a team. It's not when you're just performing on stage. There's so much stuff goes in behind the scenes. So like in most of my main projects, I'm the drummer, but also the producer. And I sort out the rehearsals and the tech and all that side, and make the tech writers sort out the live sound. Then you need someone who's good at, arrangements, set lists, making the live show what it is. Someone who does the social media, the promotion. So you become like a team, That's one of the great things about playing in a band. If you find people that you gel with, that it's really good if you get into a band where everyone wants the same thing and you have a common goal, and you all contribute what you can to making that happen. So that's a great thing about it.
How long have you known sort of your band members, would you say? Was it been for a lot longer than when you started, or did you just meet, or kind of how did it form, really?
Yeah, so my main project that I've talked about briefly before it's called the Shannon Pearl Band. So Shannon is my partner, who I actually met at uni, so I've known her about 15 years. We've been playing music together for that time as well.
Yeah.
This project's fairly new. We've been doing the full band thing about 3 years, but I kind of know all the musicians from other places, like the bass player in the band. He's called Adam Cornell. I've worked with for years, because the music world being quite a small place, I'd played in various other bands with him, to the point where we started to just come as a pair, like as a rhythm section, drummer and bassist. We played in loads of people's bands together. Yeah. So he was a natural choice when we put together this band to bring him in. Mm-hmm. Same with the fiddle player. I'd played with her in different bands before. And so we're all sort of good friends that have known each other for a long time and played in various bands together. Yeah.
So the mention of the fiddle there makes me kind of I'm quite intrigued by that, because I don't know, whenever I hear the word band, immediately I just think this is only from an outside point of view. Obviously, you know, there's a lot more nuances to it than this, but from an outside point of view, I've recorded everything I've currently done at the Bunker in Sunderland.
Oh right, yeah, cool.
And that entire culture and what I know of it, every time I hear the word band, I just think rock bordering on metal.
Bass. Yeah, okay.
So I hear fiddle there. What is it, like, genre-wise, that you feel more comfortable in? What have you worked in before, genre-wise?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Genre-wise, I mean, obviously I said before, I started playing drums because of Nirvana. I came up playing in rock and metal bands, but I've done all sorts now. I've played jazz, I've played in sort of more pop bands, I guess. Mm-hmm. I was in an indie band for a long time, about a decade ago, that was doing all right, like indie rock. This current band is neo-folk. It's sort of the label we put on it, because Spotify and all that, they want labels, they want genres. We call it neo-folk. It's sort of... the core of it is a rock band, I guess. We've got drums, we've got bass, we've got electric guitar. Occasionally we have a keyboard player. We've got Jen on the fiddle and Shannon on vocals. And the stuff we do is kind of... There's a lot of like a folk influence, but... sort of in a modern context, we do a lot of looping, sampling, electronics alongside that, so it's like a fusion of genres.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. When you think of a band, you think of like guitar, bass, drum, singer, don't you? But it doesn't always have to be that way.
So is that how you kind of describe neo-folk in a sense? Because I've never heard that before. Is that
I mean, a few people call themselves neo-folk, and it can mean different things, but it normally means sort of a modernisation of sort of folk traditions. And it's the subject matter of the music as well. I mean, this is a bit tangential, but Shannon and I, when we first started playing together, we played blues, so we had like a blues duo.
Wow.
We did a lot of covers gigs and that, but we had original music as well. And we did that for quite a few years. But at a point, it started to feel sort of inauthentic playing the blues, just because of the history of the music. It's not from the place that we're from. It's kind of like the blues originated from black Americans, essentially, and is sort of rooted in the pain of the persecution of their culture. So there seemed to be a certain inauthenticity to us playing it when it's not our background. So we that's when we started leaning more towards like folk traditions and more local traditions to us, and that's how we got into the neo-folk thing. And it's sort of an influence on a lot of the songs. If that kind of makes sense.
No, it does. So, no, I find that as well. There's something with a release right now when this is coming out. That I will have released more by the time this comes out. But currently, the time I'm recording, my latest project was a first album of mine. Yeah. And there was one of them that a lot of people would find quite amusing. But that one song that is similar to what you were saying. It was where I tried to looking into it a bit and trying to go for a similar style of blues and that sort of thing. It was a case of I knew from an outside perspective exactly what you were saying. It was a case of I know this isn't a permanent thing, but to me it was the whole point of the album was that I tried loads of different genres,
and that's cool. It's worthwhile.
It was a holiday. That's what it was.
Yeah,
it was like I want to give it a go, and I think I was somewhere. It was almost like a bit of a tiny bit of a country hybrid to it, but it was
that's cool too.
It was very much just bordering on it, and I just wanted to at least try it once and see where it was. But no, I think from the little bit that I listened to it, it's a great genre. I thought it was really nice.
Yeah,
in parts.
and I think doing that there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think there should be any gatekeeping in music, and that anyone should be told you can't play that genre of music. I think that's really good to experiment with genres and to borrow things from other places. I really don't agree with gatekeeping, but yeah, what you're saying there makes sense. I'll have to check out your stuff. I didn't know you were a musician, so you're like a solo singer-songwriter.
Yeah, I don't claim to be world class. I put it that way. but it's
it's cool.
But no, I'm just trying to get better. We're currently it will be out by the time this comes out. But it's I'm working on the second album now.
Oh, nice.
So we're going.
Cool.
I've been working with somebody sort of Newcastle College area.
Right.
And we're doing sort of a lot more sort of dance EDM style stuff for the second one.
Cool.
So with a space theme to it, and that's
right.
that's what we're going for with the second one. In terms of in a theme, a running theme, like the design, the album cover, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for with it. So we're pretty happy where things are going.
Cool.
But no, I thought it was definitely worth bringing up. I think trying different genres, it almost would you find that when you have done that it teaches you a bit more about what your personal style is when you try new things?
Yeah, because you find a lot of musicians will pick a genre and stay in it and be like, I'm a metal guitarist or whatever, and that's what I do, and you can get really good at that one thing, but I think it sort of narrows your field of influence. Like I feel like I'm a far better player from having done jazz gigs and that kind of thing. I'm not really like a jazzer. I don't listen to jazz that much. I don't do a lot of the gigs, but having brought that influence into like my style of playing and that, it just gives you more of like a palette to work with, I think, and makes you more diverse and interesting as a musician. I think it's really, really valuable to genre hop, and you shouldn't pigeonhole yourself. Yeah. Especially as much as distributors and streaming platforms and that want you to slap one label on what you do. I mean, even in our band, we do a lot of genre hopping stuff. We've got some quite heavy songs. We've got some really folky things. We just try and make it all work together. I like it when people do that. And don't stick too rigidly to one thing.
Yeah. So when obviously to kind of now focusing on the question of today, with you trying to pick yourself up from the bottom like everyone else in this industry and working it professionally. What would you say are kind of the hardest parts of gaining ground in what it is you're doing, and how hard have you found it as a band member and as a band as a whole to sort of gain recognition in the industry, like in sort of obviously I'd imagine more of a local sense, like in the northeast. How difficult have you found it, and what have been the hardest parts of that process?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question, and it's something that's always changing. I mean, I can only talk from my experience, but things change so fast. Like the way that we listen to music and the way that industry functions is constantly changing. That's one of the biggest challenges. But when I first started really trying to sort of make a go of it, it's when I graduated, which was in 2014. And one thing right from the start of this discussion I think that's important to make a distinction in is when you're a professional musician, there's kind of two avenues you can go down. You can do a bit of both, those being playing covers gigs or playing original gigs, and they're both completely different industries. So for a long time I paid the rent by playing weddings and doing that kind of thing, playing covers, but obviously the dream, the goal is to make all of your money doing your original music by making your art, and that's the other side of things, which I guess is what we'll focus the discussion more on. The hardest thing I think is in the sort of modern music industry, there's an oversaturation of people doing it. So it's kind of a good thing in a way that we have, like, almost anyone can produce their own music now. You could, on your laptop, you need like an okay microphone, digital audio workstation. You can pretty much make an album with that stuff in your bedroom now that can be good.
That was the first one anyway. In my case, it was very, very, very back to basics.
Yeah, and I think everyone starts that way, and but it's great. It's democratizing. Anyone can make music. Anyone can use a distributor, get on Spotify, all the rest of it. But the flip side to that democratization is that there's so many people doing it. Yeah, it's quite difficult to make what you're doing stand out and get a foothold with it. The other thing that's difficult about that is that these days you can't just be a musician. This is what I always tell music students. It's just not enough anymore. maybe 20 years ago, being really good at an instrument was all you needed to do, and that's what people would focus on. Just get amazing at your instrument, play in a band, and you would wait, for an A&R person to pick you up, for a label to sign you, things like that. And I've been through all that stuff, and I've been signed to labels and sort of got nowhere with it, but that's kind of how it used to work. These days, it doesn't really work like that anymore. No, a label's not going to pick you up unless you've built your own following already. They're not interested unless you've got high thousands on Instagram and all the rest of it, and people are coming to your shows, which means you have to do it yourself, which never used to be the case. If you were good at your instrument, you'd be picked up by a label who would put a team in place, you'd have a promoter, you'd have a manager, you'd have all the rest of it. Now you have to be able to not only play your instrument, but you have to be able to record yourself. You need to be able to make content, which is I hate the word content, but it's something you have to do now. You can't just make the music. You have to make all of your promotional material. You have to make your Instagram reels. You have to do all the stuff.
Videos.
That gets people's attention on it, because you can make the best album in the world and put it on Spotify. No one's going to listen to it unless you're telling them about it, And I think this is... for me, it's one of the hardest things. Luckily, I don't have to do this stuff. We've got a good team in our band where I do the behind the scenes things where I'm happy, and Shannon and we've got a manager. Between them, they sort out all the promotion and the press and all of that. But when you're first starting out, you have to do it all, and it's overwhelming, it's difficult, and if you want to do it properly, as you'll know with making podcasts and doing the sort of media stuff you do, doing a good job of it takes a lot of time and effort, and you're not getting paid for a lot of that, so you have to fit that in around your life as well. I think that's one of the greatest challenges. Like, if you think in any other industry, can you think of another job where you have to just start doing the job yourself to the best standard you can for several years before anyone's going to pay you to do it? There's no trade where that would be the case, but in music, you just have to start doing it and hope that someone wants to pay you down the line, So, there's a few tangents there, but I hope that sort of answers the question.
No, definitely. How important would you say in this whole journey to now as being sort of networking? Because I know we've talked about you being in a power band and meeting various people who you've obviously learned to trust and build relationships with over time. Obviously, I know at least in the visual media side of things, we are dramatically encouraged to network with a wide variety of people, because despite I think there's, for example, a bit of a tangent here, but I would say that what I've found as experience for both A-level and university is that going down this creative route directly from school and base subjects, I've found that the value nowadays in doing this subject particularly is in the skills you learn rather than the value of the outcome itself of why it is you're doing it. Because to get anywhere in our industry, producer myself, it is very much about who you know and what you've done and your experience and that sort of thing, rather than any degree you might have. Would you say it's a similar thing in music? Where it's about kind of getting your foot in the door with the right people?
Absolutely, I would completely agree with that. And it's interesting you mentioned degrees and university in that, because the creative industries is a funny one where to be a musician, to work in any media industry, you don't necessarily need a degree. You could just go and do the thing and build your career. But the degree gives you two things. I think you get the skills you need, obviously the practical skills. But also, I think one of the most important things is the networking. That's 100% number one reason to go to university for me. And I didn't really know that at the time, but that's one of the main benefits for me going to get my degree in music. Because, in the real world, when you're not applying for jobs so much, you're pitching for gigs and other things like that. No one's like, what degree did you get? It's like, can you do the thing, or who do you know, like you say. And for me, going to do my degree was meeting people. There's people I met. I went to uni in 2011 that I still work with now. People that have gone off into different parts of the industry. There's a guy who I've made an album with recently. He's a producer as well. I hadn't spoken to him for a good few years. He'd gone off and made his own success in the industry. As a producer, he's called Pointy Features. His real name's Dan. He had really good success in lockdown and COVID. He started making lo-fi music. He's a blues guitarist, so he found his niche, making lo-fi beats and playing the blues over the top. Really nice tasteful guitar playing, it really took off. So he hit something like 100 million on Spotify. His music like blew up. And then one day I got a call from him being like, hey, I want to make a band record. Do you want to do it? And I was like, of course, absolutely. So we've got a 7-track EP out now that we did with the band that he put together. Really fun project. Good to put something out that's going to have an audience, all done properly. And that was just because, I wouldn't have known him if I didn't have the sort of network of going to uni and meeting these people. So that's a great thing about it. And it's kind of outside of uni, just going on to like the wider network. It is what gets you into things. Knowing people really helps, or like you say, the experience of having said, I've worked with so and so, I've done this, I've done that. Another sort of avenue that I've worked in quite a lot of my career is live sound. And that's one where like I kind of just got asked to do it in the first instance. I didn't really know how to do live sound, but someone asked me to do sound for a gig, and I was like, I could probably do that and figure it out on the fly. And just through word of mouth that I was sort of doing it and started doing these shows, I would get asked more and more, up to a point where like about 50% of my income for a while was doing live sound. Got really good at it just from winging it basically. But it's like the people you meet, you mix a gig, someone comes up to you like, oh, I've got this event next week, will you mix that? And suddenly like from each one you might get one or two more. It becomes a network. It becomes a lot of avenues of people that you can rely on to always give you a job to do basically. And again, that was a really tangential answer, but it's quite a wide thing to talk about, I guess.
No, of course. The
network is really important. It's not something that you can do alone, I guess, is the main takeaway from all of that. It's knowing people, and in a band it's having a good team, but you need contacts outside of that. You need to know other people in the industry. You need to know promoters, booking agents, venue owners, like all different kinds of people.
In knowing a lot of people and what it is that you do, how have you found any struggles in the past with sort of what the big term everyone loves to avoid, creative differences? A very big hanging umbrella over it is not an umbrella, it rains. It kind of a dark cloud, you would say, that kind of hangs over a lot of creative works in many different mediums, music included. Have you found any instances of that in the past, and in both minor and major, and how is the best way to navigate that in a team sense? Because obviously if you need to know a lot of people, there are downsides to that sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. Luckily, like in a band, normally the team is at least quite small. So we've got like 5 sort of full-time band members, and we've got our manager, and that's it in our team, and kind of everyone's in the band because they want to be and they're into what we're doing. So luckily, I think I've been lucky in general with this. We don't really have the creative differences thing. People bring their different influences and we'll speak about what we want to put in the songs and what we don't, but there's never been like a full-blown argument over like, oh, I want to do this. I have been in bands in the past where it's been a little bit more of an issue, or bands where I talked briefly before about a band I was in where we were signed to a record label, but they were like strictly an indie label. So that sort of means you can only make indie rock music. And if you start doing other stuff, it's not in line with their sort of brand image and that. So it's not so much creative differences, I guess, but it makes you, it forces you into a category.
Do you find when you've been part of that label, it's a bit more constraining than if, did you find that over being solo?
I'm not a big fan of being signed to a label for a lot of reasons. That's a big one, that they kind of, and like a third party then has creative control over your project. And I think that dilutes the art. There's a quote from Rick Rubin that I really like, the music producer, where he says like, if you're making music for anyone else but yourself, it won't be successful. You shouldn't make it try to please somebody else. You should make just what you like and what you think is the best thing you could make. And that's what makes it relatable to other people, because it's kind of pure, it's your vision, and then people will like it because of that. Whereas if you make something thinking like this will be commercially successful or the label will like this, it's not your art. It's a bit contrived, and you lose something from it. So I think the less people involved, the better in that sense. And it's good to have like a team and a band who has a clear artistic vision. and who are trying to make the same thing, you know. And like I say, I've been really lucky with that, to work with bands where everyone wants the same outcome. I know it's a big cliche in music. A lot of bands break up because of the old creative differences, but I've never had it as a major problem, like touch wood.
No, I find that one surprising. Secondly, I think that's very lucky.
Because I've been in a lot of bands, but I've never had an argument in a band. So, yeah,
that's great. It's the we've spoken just a bit there about labels and what you're saying about the sort of the authenticity of vision, and then also social media and the pressures of, you know, pushing that out there and making it marketable, as well as just making the product. It's not it's not enough anymore to just do the instrument. Do you think there's a certain do you think there's the authenticity of music as an art form? Do you think it is as intact as it was before all this new age technology came in and things changed? Do you think it's adapted, or do you think it's there's a certain element that's been lost in a sense?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I tend to take an optimistic view on this because I feel like the negative side is, I think mainstream music, you know, what you hear on Radio 1 and stuff, is largely, it's backed itself into a kind of corner. You hear a lot of the same things. And it's easy to sort of be in the camp of being like, oh, music's not what it used to be, you know, everything's synthetic, everything's auto-tuned, it's all on grid, nothing's interesting anymore. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's lots of really authentic, really good music being made. It's just not on Radio 1, you know. And that is because any kid in their bedroom with a laptop and a sort of an idea can make that thing and put it out, and if it connects with people, it blows up. You know, TikTok blows up artists all the time, and people who've not had any external influence, no one telling them what to do, they're just making what they want, you know. There's lots of unique, original, good stuff still being made. So I don't think, you know, the internet, mass media, streaming technology and that, I don't think it's had too bad of a negative impact on creativity itself. I think there's still like good things happening, and authenticity, you know. It's just different, the way that we do things now. So
obviously, as we've talked about in the last few minutes there, you've it's been, in terms of career differences, kind of plain sailing, which is very fortunate. In terms of moments of doubt and real struggles that have happened, which if not in career differences and maybe in other areas, have you ever had sort of what you could say your creative dark night of the soul? Like, has there ever been sort of those real down moments where you thought, right, I don't think I can continue this?
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, like a career in the arts, my whole career has been a moment of doubt. Even at the good times, you're like, how long can I realistically keep making money doing this? Like, you know, there's always sort of the feeling that things might change and the rug might be pulled from under you. I think that's based on experience. I mean, if we're talking about specific low points, the pandemic obviously was probably the worst in my whole music career. Right. At that time, I was living in Newcastle, and my entire income was live sound and gigs, like everything. That's all I did. I wasn't teaching. So when the pandemic hit, like 100% of my work was gone, like overnight. So that was a really bad time. Like, I lost my flat. I was out of work for several months. I turned my hand to some other things. I started doing remote drum tracks for people's albums and remote production, stuff like that. So I managed to like claw some back after a little while. But it's something that I absolutely wasn't ready for. And it was such a blow in a career that's already difficult, you know. Like I say, it's always a moment of doubt, even when you're doing well. Next month you might not be doing well, you know. So like, I was lucky in 2019 to have been doing better than I ever had in terms of making a living off it at that point, and then just had it wiped out and had to start from scratch again. It was kind of that moment where I was like, I need to reassess how stable this is as a career. But I'm glad that I didn't just give it up, because I know a lot of musicians that were just like, I can't do this. People who had kids and mortgages and stuff, you know, and they had a lot more riding on it. At that point, were like, no, I'm out. I can't rely on such an unstable industry, and ended up doing other things. I'm lucky to not have such responsibilities, I guess, and I was like, I'm going to keep trying to do this. But obviously there's moments of doubt all the time. Sometimes you'll release something and it just doesn't do as well as you sort of were hoping or expecting it to do, and you just don't know why. Sometimes the algorithm these days just bins your release.
Yeah.
Things like that, and you just like, you question why you're doing it, why you put so much time and effort into something that's like, it may not get a reaction, it may not get a return. But for me, I guess I've always sort of said that I don't think I could quit music if I tried. It's just something that I have to do. It's like the creative expression, the process, all of it is just, it's so ingrained in just what I do. I don't think I could quit. So I'm in for the long haul. In the moments of doubt, in the bad times, I just take them as they come.
Would you say out the other side of something like that, would you say it made you stronger? That
Yeah,
is, you've come out stronger. Like you said, 2019 was a particular peak for you. Would you say that you've, because I imagine in a time so tough as that will, if anything, probably taught you how to adapt to very difficult situations.
Yes, totally. Yeah, and that's a nice way of looking at it. And I do think that the experience was valuable, and I've come out stronger and doing different things. It's kind of what led me into teaching, I suppose. I've always done teaching on and off. Like, one of the very first music jobs I had before I went to uni was teaching drums in schools. And I've taught privately, like instrumental lessons on and off over the years. But it was sort of at that point where I was like, you know, I thought I could add teaching to, like, you call it like a portfolio career, you know, when you're doing a million different things to make your income. I was like, why don't I add teaching to that seriously? So that's kind of what led me, in a long-winded way, to being at the uni teaching, I guess. Because coming out of lockdown, I applied for a couple of jobs in colleges teaching music production. I thought, that's something good that I can do, you know, whilst I get the gigging career back on its feet. I got turned down from 2 colleges. Both of them said that I had all the relevant experience. The industry experience was great, all of this, but you don't have a PGC, so we've given it to the guy that has that. So I was like, right, I need to get a PGC, so if anything comes up, you know. So I ended up doing that, did my MA, and then kind of just fell into teaching at the uni. Got asked to do a few things and ended up where I am now, which is great, you know. So all of that was cause of COVID, really, and lockdown sort of shaking up my career and changing how I do things. And to go on even more of a tangent with this, but this is worth saying, is that in 2019 I was doing the best that I'd done off music financially, but a large part of that was not doing my own creative projects, because I was doing live sound in venues, which is obviously mixing other people's bands. It's fun and it's fulfilling, but it's not your own work. And I was playing a ton of weddings, which again is like, it's good money, and it's much better than working on a bar. It's a laugh. You play music with your friends and you get paid for it, but again, not so creatively fulfilling. And with sort of stumbling into teaching and finding that I was enjoying that and doing well with it and having a few days a week, you know, with what you'd call a day job, it suddenly meant that I had a bit more leeway to do more original work, because on the weekend it's like, well, I don't have to make my entire rent by paying weddings. I can take a punt on doing like a venue gig or a festival that's going to pay less. And that's meant that my original music career has skyrocketed in a way that I hadn't really predicted, just literally as a matter of being able to put more time into it. So again, that I keep giving these long
it's fine.
long tangential answers, but yeah, to sum it up, COVID totally shook up how I did things, but I'm in a better place for it now in so many ways.
So 2 questions to finish. First of all, with everything we've discussed today about sort of very much different roles in music, and you've got to be more than one thing. Where do you see the future of this industry going, in a sense? I know it's obviously a big question for the broad, worldwide expanse of this particular medium, but let's say more in a local sense, like bigger worldwide things that would affect on every level, even in the Northeast. Where do you see the next 10, 15, 20 years of music heading in that sort of way, stylistically, maybe technology,
sure,
the whole shebang?
Yeah, I mean, I think technology is a major factor, and especially now, it's a good time to ask that question. I feel like I'll try and not make this too long an answer, but like,
it's fine.
So the history of what we call popular music, I guess, starts in, I suppose, like the 30s, 40s, into the 50s, when we started recording things, distributing music, and different music genres started to spring up, and we went from like, I suppose rock and roll was one of the most shocking new genres to come out in the 1950s, and then into the 60s with the Beatles and things like that. Things have sped up since then, is kind of the point that I'm making. After after a couple hundred years of classical music, I know there were different eras of that, but in the 1900s things sped up and they sped up and they sped up and things changed. We developed a music industry that worked in a certain way, labels, pressing vinyl, selling CDs. Then suddenly streaming came in, flipped that on its head. Musicians had to adapt to that, and now we're at a point where technology is going to change things again. Like, the elephant in the room is AI. Like, that is going to completely change roles within the music industry, I think. A lot of people seem to just see it as like a tool and a way of making things easier, but I think we'd be naive not to be a bit more cautious about how it's going to shake things up. I think as a musician who plays an instrument, maybe that's safe and that'll stay the same, because a live gig is what it is. It's people playing music in real time and it's human connection and stuff like that. As a producer, though, I'm really uncertain about what the future of that will be, because production, I didn't really go into that side story, but I hadn't been doing that as long as I've actually been playing music. I started producing in about 2011, and I've spent more than a decade now refining those skills, to the point where I have been doing it professionally for quite a few years, producing people's bands, doing that kind of thing. And it's a trade, it's a valuable skill. It takes a long time to get good at it, and people value it because you can work with somebody's band, get an idea of their creative vision, and use your skills to realize it and give them a product, that they release. I feel like AI is going to change that. You'll have seen yourself how much AI tools are sneaking into the things that we do. Like, I don't know if you've used things like Adobe Podcast and that, where you can, like, it'll remove background noise and clean things up for you. It starts with things like that, like the menial tasks. It takes some of the time-consuming things out of editing. But there's already plugins coming out where AI will do things like, for example, there's like this vocal stack thing for when you layer in your vocals in a mix, and you might have piles of harmonies, which would previously have taken a really good singer who can, line up their phrases and sing in harmony and sing in pitch. It'll just pitch them and shift them and sort them out for you. I feel like we're going to get to a point where AI can take over almost any jobs in music production that would have been a skill that took a human years to learn. Yeah. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's always up for debate with new technologies. There's always new technologies come in to music that people think are inauthentic and are going to ruin it, but they just become part of what we do, know. But I think this is an interesting one, where so many things will be automated and a lot of roles, I think, might become obsolete, and the industry's probably not ready for the shake-up that's going to bring. I think we need to be thinking more about how we're going to deal with this stuff.
Would you say people are naive to that change? Like people aren't really ready for it yet?
I think it's happening too fast, and I don't think anyone's to blame in industry for that. What I called before naivety, I guess. And it's anyone's guess how things are going to go. But my concern is that right to the top level of industry, we're not ready for the changes that things will bring. Even things that have been happening for a couple of years now, like AI being able to simulate voices, and someone made an AI Drake song and released it, and Drake fans are listening to it and being like, this is better than Drake, whatever. And then the labels are like, who owns a voice? Does the artist own the voice? Does the label own the voice? We've never before had something that can take someone's voice and make something new with it. And literal law, law is trying to keep up with this. Like, who does the money go to? Who owns things? And it's going to get more complex than that, I think. That's just one example, but I just think things are moving so fast now. We can't really predict what's going to change in the industry, and we can't be ready for it. So, the music industry always changes and everyone adapts, and there still is a music industry, even though people thought streaming would kill it, and before that people thought electric guitars would kill it, and there's always technology that shakes things up. But I guess my main point here is that I have no idea. Like, anything could happen in the next few years. The developments that are happening at the moment with AI, they could render creative discussions obsolete. We might be, worried on an existential level, a civilizational level, about how things are going to change with artificial intelligence. Arts discussions might suddenly seem a bit trivial compared to all that. It might not be so drastic, you know, but I think we need to be prepared for big changes brought about by technology. But to put a positive spin on it, I would like to think that there's always a place for human creativity and human connection and human communication through music and the wider creative arts, visual arts, and the type of things that you do, you know, podcasts and video stuff. And essentially all of that it's communicating, you know, it's one human communicating to others or sharing information. I think there'll always be a need for that connection, no matter how much technology replaces human authors or changes the process. I mean, art is almost as old as civilization itself, so I think there'll always be humans making art and making music and sharing it. How we'll be doing that even in 3 or 4 years is anybody's guess, never mind 20 years. But another long-winded answer, but that's kind of fine. In a nutshell my thoughts on the future of music.
So with everything that you've described today, with the nuances of this culture, which is a lot of things that I didn't understand from someone who's been in it for a while, so thank you for that, the ups and the downs, and with everything to consider, both past, present and future, what is the one core piece of advice you would say to anyone trying to get into this music industry, and as in the most universal sense, like just what would you encourage anyone trying to get into this with everything that's changing, and with everything that is currently here and the systems that you've at least had experience the last few decades, to you know, to pave your way?
Yeah, that's another really good question, and I've a fairly simple answer to this one. Right at the top is to believe in yourself. This is talking from my experience. I really struggled initially when I first graduated, and I was like, right, I'm going to be a musician. I had 1 gig a week at that time that paid 50 quid. I would have been better off on the dole, you know. And when people were like, what do you do? I'd be like, I'm a musician. I really struggled to just take ownership of that, you know, because I didn't feel like I deserved the title and didn't think I was doing it. And I wish I could go back and tell my past self, like, just believe in yourself more. Just be like, I am this. I can do it, you know. That's my first bit of advice. And whether you're a musician or whether you're a producer or a videographer, it doesn't matter if anyone's paying you to do it yet. Just be like, I am this, take ownership of it. That's what you do. It's who you are. And I think that attitude will really serve you. The other half of this is work hard, though. Don't just be like, well, that's what I do, so I'm going to sit and, you know, just keep doing what I've been doing. I'll practice guitar in my bedroom, whatever it is. You do have to start to treat it as if it's your job, like I said before, even before you're getting paid for it. So you need to spend time going out and looking for work. You need to spend time networking. You need to set aside admin time, which right at the start of your career, it might not be that much. But I think it's important to set a precedent for having a schedule where you do this stuff, because that will grow, and you'll need to spend like office time doing, say, your invoices and doing your taxes. And for me, I lump like promotion and all of that stuff in there as well. So social media work, replying to people, all of that. Treat it like a job. You know, it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be creative. It's meant to be fulfilling. And you get to do the thing. You get to play guitar. You get to edit video, whatever it is you want to do. But it's still your job. So you still have to do the taxes and you have to do the boring stuff. Start doing that. Take it seriously. If you take yourself seriously and you treat what you're doing as your job, that it manifests, you know. If you just think, well, I'm just going to get really good at playing guitar and I might just post it on TikTok every now and again and eventually a label will pick me up and I'll get paid. That's not how it works, you know. You need to build from the ground up. So you need to have that work ethic. So 2 things, self-belief and work ethic, like actually go out and make it happen. And that's another thing that I don't think will change as technology changes. Whatever it is that you want to do, like, just do it. Like, go out and try really hard to do it and do all the boring things that go with it, all of the admin, all of the behind the scenes work. And that's what makes it happen, I guess. And these are things I would tell me when I was 20 trying to start being a musician. I could have saved myself a lot of years of being penniless and kind of lost with what to do.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Brilliant. Right then, okay. Now, you won't know this, but with every week we usually have a tradition of a little game at the end of any of these things. So our game today is Decade Duel, the Music Showdown.
Okay.
Right, okay. So we have a how to play. Here we go. There are 10 questions. Debate which band released the best song. Okay. I'm going to be pushed for my knowledge of these things here. There is no wrong or right answer. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Right. 1930s. But okay. Right. Oh yeah. To be fair, I do know some of this. Right. Okay. Sing Sing Sing, by Benny Gagman, 1937, or Putting on the Ritz, Harry Richmond, 1930. Right.
This is difficult. I feel like I don't know either of these songs well enough to make an informed judgment.
I think I only definitely only know one of them, so I think I'm going on the right hand side here. We're Putting on the Ritz, as far as I know, because I don't massively know. I might do if I've heard it. I think if I hear it, I might know. I have a feeling, but I'm just going to go.
I would go
with the right.
so far as to say I'm aware of these songs, but I wouldn't make any more bolder claim than that. Based purely on the artwork, though, I would go with Goodman on the left there. I quite like it. The style of
it
his
is
artwork,
quite nice. It's illustrated. For obviously, you guys can't see it, but it's quite good. Right. Okay. 1940s. Wow. Okay. I'm even more clueless.
I know these ones.
La Vie en Rose, by Edith Piaf, 1946, or Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, the Andrews Sisters, 1941.
For me, it has to be Edith Piaf out of those two. The other one's kind of a novelty song. It's like, I don't know. La Vie en Rose has a really nice progression.
Mm-hmm.
I played it at a wedding once, actually. It was either the first dance or the entry of the bride or something. But
I
remember learning it and being like, "Oh, this is quite cool." Like the way the song's put together and that. It's a nice song. The other one's a bit cheesy, but it's of its time, I guess.
1950s. Hound Dog, Elvis Presley, 1956, or Johnny B. Good, Chuck Berry, 1958. I'm going to go with Hound Dog on this one.
Oh, really? I was going to say Chuck Berry, no question. It's just, the iconic guitar intro, like, it sort of defined, like rockabilly blues
Michael
playing.
J. Fox, that's for sure. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Again, I'll be honest. I'm not an absolute mega fan of either of them. But I don't know what it is. I just gravitate more towards Elvis. I don't know.
Well, fair enough.
I don't know. Right. 1960s, number 4. We have California Dreamin', the Mamas and Papas, 1965, or Respect, Aretha Franklin, 1967.
I've got an answer to that as well, but I'll hear your answer first.
Fire away, because I've probably heard both of these.
Yeah.
I can't. I think the more the decades go on, I think I'll put more of a tune to a title.
Yeah.
But I think I've heard both of these, but I can't off the top of my head. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if this is just personal preference, I think California Dreamin' it's a more interesting song. It's kind of it's very 60s. It's quintessentially 60s. Right. There's sort of more going on in the tune, but I guess Respect is more iconic, isn't it? More people would probably know that.
Well, it wins by default because only one of us knows it. Right. 1970s. Staying Alive, Bee Gees, or Bohemian Rhapsody, Queen, 1975. I'm going to go with Queen on this one.
Yeah, Queen's a clear winner here. I've never been a fan of the Bee Gees. Like, I can't get away with Barry Gibb's falsetto style. I know some people like it. But Queen, I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody, that record is something that defined music production of that era. They did stuff in the studio that had never been done before.
Yeah.
With there was something like hundreds of vocal takes where they would bounce them down and then bounce them down again to make more tracks than would be possible on like the tape machine that they had. It's kind of like a masterpiece of production. It's seminal. It has to win.
I mean, it's a great CPR pacemaker, but no, Queen wins. That's right. Okay. 1980s, Tainted Love, Soft Cell, 1981, or Africa, Toto, 1982. I think Africa.
Africa just has to win that, doesn't it? It's just a brilliant song. It's like, I know it's cheesy, and it's for some reason it blew up again recently, and it's been done to death. But the writing is really good. There's loads going on in that song, like with the chords and the time signatures and the harmonies. It is good. Like, you can't knock Toto.
1990s, Wonderwall, Oasis, 1995, or Macarena, Los Del Rio, 1993. This is right. This is going to be annoying because I think for the joke of it, I kind of want to go on the right because this is my time to say I'm actually not massive on Oasis.
Oh, well, me too. So, yeah, I would have gone with the Macarena just to spite Oasis, to be honest.
Unlike everyone else in my generation, for some reason, I'm not a massive fan of them.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, being from the 90s and all that, people my age bloody love Oasis, but
yeah.
I've never been that interested, and I just don't like them as people. I think that affects the music for me, but the Gallagher brothers just don't seem to be nice people to me. I might get hate for this, for knocking Oasis, but as terrible and awful as the Macarena is, I would choose that over Oasis.
2000s, Here You Are, Outcast 2003, or Poker Face, Lady Gaga 2008. Right, okay. I don't want to. I feel like I want to be contrary to you on this one. I just think, even though it's more of a vibe on the left, I just think Poker Face is just a better song. I don't know. It's just more iconic. I don't know.
It's making me feel old. That 2008. Like, I remember that coming out and like playing in pubs and that, and I didn't think it was that long ago. Yeah, I like Hey Ya. I kind of like how, again, that's got like a bit more going on it. It's got like a time signature changes and that. It's got that little extra 2/4 bar and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of either song. Having said that, but.
Yeah, I said Ball is better. So I mean, it is just the signature of it. It's got like Here You Are has definitely got recognition. I feel like Poker Face is just. I think anything Gaga touches goes to gold.
Yeah,
it's huge.
I mean, she is good. You know, have you seen videos of her before she was like a pop star? She can play guitar, she can play piano. She's a really good rock singer.
Mm-hmm.
I do have respect for her.
Yeah,
I wouldn't really listen to the music she makes now, but I don't have anything against her.
I'd love to know if there's like a genuine scale for it, how big she actually has been in the last 20 years, like in comparison to other artists. Like, she's got to be up there.
Yeah, I mean, she's not in the top runnings, is she? Like Taylor Swift absolutely dominates streaming, but she's got to be up there somewhere.
Recognition, she's got to be the high way up. Yeah, definitely. I'd say I'd probably say maybe Adele's bigger.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm not certain, but probably, yeah.
Number 9, 2010s, Radioactive, Imagine Dragons 2012, or Shape of You, Ed Sheeran 2017. I'm agree. I like these songs about as much as each other. I don't know.
I'm not really a fan of either of these things.
I think I'm gonna give it to Sheeran simply because that song, as far as I'm aware, I think that is his biggest song ever. I think it is.
That is like a huge hit. He's talking about who's like up there in recognition and streaming. That's probably got to be one of the top, probably in the world.
Yeah, I think of all time. I've some kind of all time chart. I think with his particularly, I don't think he's made a song that's more successful than that. Yeah, I think it's his top one. So yeah, I'll give it on this because I've just heard it more times, really. But I'd say I hold them about in the same regard. Yeah, and then 2020s, I imagine, for number 10. As It Was, Harry Styles, or Levitating, Dua Lipa 2020.
I don't actually know the Dua Lipa song. Probably heard it, but...
Yeah, same. Oh, yes. Yes, I know that one. I know it now.
As It Was is it's a well-written pop tune. It's got a nice... It's like a synth hook, is it?
Yeah, I feel like I want to give it a Harry on this one. Levitating's good, but I think I'll give it a Harry. I like As It Was. But I mean, I say that as if I've heard it everywhere, both iTunes. I've heard it. I've heard not sampled, but I've heard like an extract of it everywhere. Yeah, but not I don't think I've got downloaded, but that's no. Yeah, I do. I do think it's a nice tune. Yeah, I'd definitely say that takes the cake for me.
Yeah, I'll go with that as well because I don't know the other one.
Right. Finn. Great. Wonderful. Right then, did you enjoy that?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it was good talking about music.
No, it's been great having you on. And again, a lot of these episodes that I've had in the past, I've learned a lot from this. So no, thank you very much.
Cool.
But no, it's been great having you on, John. Thank you very much, and thank you all to you guys at home as per usual for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And that will just about do it for today. So until next time on the BWN podcast, from myself and John, goodbye.